Alright, I want to wish everyone a happy holidays here from Echoes from the Temple. I know that most people are busy with family and friends today, and I myself am no different, so this is going to be a pretty brief video. Now this is day 6 of the 12 Days of Yule challenge set out by Ivy the Occultist. I did not make a video for day 5 only because I do not have a recipe that I wish to share at this time. Now the prompt for today's video is to reflect on death and rebirth in any way. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, anyone who has failed and bounced back can probably understand the concept of death and rebirth. Like a snake shedding its skin, sometimes you have to make changes to yourself and your immediate surroundings and simply just reinvent yourself, which is oftentimes not simple. Then sometimes the changes occur whether you want them to or not. There are also times when there are forces at work in your life that do not give you a choice in the matter, and they pull you through the change, kicking and screaming all the way. I think everyone will encounter all of these at different stages in their life. So before I continue, I just want to add this disclaimer. I'm going to share some of my personal experiences and thoughts behind the events that happened to me. Some of this is my own personal gnosis and should be seen as such. I am also not saying that you should do the things that I have done. There is also no way to prepare yourself for how hard life can hit you once you are out on your own. Just like many others, I learned this lesson the hard way. I've been knocked down and almost homeless a couple times within my life. The logo for this channel is also symbolic of the rebirths that I've endured in my lifetime. Like the phoenix rising from the ashes, I've managed to pick myself up time and time again. Now because of that, this is an interesting topic for me because I've had to undergo so many different rebirths over the past 20 years. Some being spiritual and others being more in the material world. When I was 19, I sold everything I owned and purchased a bus ticket to Minnesota. I did this in the middle of winter, coming from a state that may see snow once every 10 years. Now this leap of faith was made because I was going nowhere in life real quick and knew that I needed to get away from my safety net. I moved in with my sister, and in a month's time I had rented my first apartment. It was probably one of the best things I ever did. Now, I didn't stay in Minnesota. I eventually returned home after about another year or so. There was another time where circumstances forced me to return to my family home, which at this time was falling apart and had half caved in. I lived out of one room with no running water and simply closed the door to the remaining parts of the home. And I would shower at the gym after work before going home to sleep. This was temporary as I left and moved about an hour away, moving in with a friend, who I thought was a friend at the time. This was again short-lived. After about a year or so, I had found myself again with nowhere to live and no money. With plans to live out of my vehicle until a couple of paychecks could be stored away, I was delivered a small camper. And the camper was parked in a campground, and I spent the next year or so of my life living out of that. Now this didn't change until I was in a position for certain things to fall into place. This is one of those times where there was no choice on my part. Sure, I could have chosen to remain where I was, but that would have gotten me nowhere. Through all of these changes in my life, a huge factor was always my spirituality, my religious magical practices. It was because of my spirituality and magical practices that I had initially moved to Minnesota, and again when I moved from the dilapidated home. There were obvious other factors at play to cause me to make those moves, but my primary focus was my spirituality and magical practice. Now for my own personal gnosis. While involved in a particular group, I was visited by Dionysus in a dream, and during this dream he appeared to me dressed in a uniform of a very specific profession, which at the time I thought nothing of it only that it was very unusual and uncharacteristic from his myths. The last big transformation that I mentioned led me to wear the same uniform that Dionysus appeared to me in. The point that I'm trying to convey through this video is that you won't always know where you're going, and sometimes it may be frightening. Then at some point within your life, you may look back and see how everything sort of just fell into place. But also, we need to remember that life is a marathon, and if you get knocked down, set a plan for yourself, give yourself time to rest, and then, like a phoenix, rise from your own ashes.